The Elves and the Shoemaker.
Once upon a time, in a very small village, there was a shoemaker who's a man who makes shoes. The shoes that you have on your feet and the shoes that I have on my feet. And he lived with his wife in a very, very small house. They lived in a very, very small house because they didn't have a lot of money. And the shoemaker turned to his wife and he said, "We only have 1 coin left. That's not even enough money for food. So I'm afraid tonight we won't be able to eat any dinner." But what will we do?" said his wife. "Well, I'll use this 1 coin and I'll buy material like leather, and I can make shoes. I can make 2 shoes. And that way, hopefully, tomorrow we can sell the shoes and then we'll have just enough money to eat." And he did. The shoemaker went to the farmer who keeps the cows that make the leather. The leather comes from the skin of the cow. And he bought just enough leather to make 2 shoes, 1 pair of shoes. So he got back to his house and he put the leather on his table. But he was very tired because he hadn't eaten. And he said to his wife, "I think we should go to bed, because if I can't have any dinner, I have to go to bed. So we'll go to bed, and tomorrow morning I will make the shoes, and maybe we can sell the shoes and we'll have money to eat." And so they did. They went to sleep. The next morning, the shoemaker woke up and he went down the stairs, and there on the table where he left the leather, as if by magic, 2 shoes, 1 pair of shoes. And they were the most beautiful shoes in the world. And the shoemaker took the shoes and he said, "Oh, look at that. Oh, they're the color of gold and silver and diamonds. And oh, they are the most beautiful shoes in the world. I won't have any problem selling these shoes." And he took the shoes up to his window and he put them in the window for everybody to see. And right away, who should walk by the window but an old man who was traveling through the village, and he saw the shoes and he thought they were beautiful too. And so he walked into the shop and he said, "Excuse me, hello, Mr. Shoemaker. I saw your shoes in the window, and they're the most beautiful shoes I've ever seen in my life. Can I buy them, please?" And the shoemaker was very happy and he said, Oh, yes, of course. This is a shop. We sell shoes. Yes, I would be very happy if you bought the shoes. And the old man said, "Well, how much money do you want for them?" And he said, "Well, 6 coins, please." "What?" The old man couldn't hear very well. 60 coins? Oh, that's a bit much. I'll give you 40 coins. 40 coins? But the shoemaker had only asked for 6, and this was 40. That's a lot more. Well, yes. 40 coins is great. Thank you very much. And so the old man gave the shoemaker 40 coins, and the shoemaker wrapped up the shoes into a parcel and gave them to the old man. And the old man left very happy, and the shoemaker was very happy. And he ran to his wife and he hugged her and he said, "Oh, darling, we have 40 coins. 40 coins? Said his wife, and said, "Yes." He said, "Well, that means we have lots of money for food and for drink. And I'll buy more leather and we can make 4 shoes. That's 2 pairs of shoes." And off she went. She ran as quickly as she could and she bought food and drink and leather for 4 shoes. And so when she got back, they had a lovely feast, and they had chicken and they had sandwiches and they had lots of water and orange juice and lots of yummy things to eat and drink. But then they were very full, and so the shoemaker decided, okay, I'll put the leather on the table and we'll go to sleep and I'll make the shoes in the morning. And they did. They went off to sleep with a very full tummy. And the next morning, the shoemaker woke up and went down the stairs, but what did he find on the table? As if by magic, 4 shoes. That's 2 pairs of shoes. And again, they were the most beautiful shoes in the world. They were exactly the same as the shoes from the day before. Gold and silver with diamonds, and oh, they were beautiful. And so very happily, he put the shoes in the window. And just at that moment, a man walked in. "Hello," said the man. I don't know if you remember, yesterday there was a very old man." And the shoemaker said, "Oh, yes, yes, the old man who couldn't hear very well." "Yes, that's him. Well, he's my friend. And I saw his shoes and I thought, well, they're the most beautiful shoes I've ever seen in my life. Do you have any more?" Why, yes, I do. I have 2 pairs of shoes. I have 4 shoes and they're exactly the same." He said, "Oh, well, that's wonderful. I'll take 1 pair of shoes for myself and 1 for my brother, who also needs shoes. So 40 coins per pair of shoes. Is that correct?" And he said, yes. He said, "So 40 and 40, 80 coins. Is that correct?" "Oh, yes, 80 coins is wonderful." And so the man gave him 80 coins, and the shoemaker made a parcel with the shoes and gave them to the man. And the man left with his shoes, very happy. And the shoemaker was very, very happy indeed. And he ran to his wife. He said, "Wife, we have 80 coins. Oh, we can buy a lot more food and a lot more drink. And I'll make even more leather for even more shoes." And this happened every day. The first day, they made 8 shoes, then 16 shoes, and 32, and 64. And they made so many shoes. And before long, the shop was full of shoes everywhere. And people came from all across the land to look at these beautiful shoes that the shoemaker had made. And they bought them, and they all left very happy with their shoes. And the shoemaker had all the food he could eat, and all the drink he could drink, and all the money he could ever want. And he and his wife were very happy. But there was one thing that the shoemaker didn't understand. And he said to his wife, "Wife, I don't understand why these shoes keep appearing as if by magic. I need to know how the shoes are made." And his wife said, "Well, tonight, instead of going to sleep, we should hide and look and see what happens." And so they did. They hid just beneath the curtain and they looked out. And then at the stroke of midnight, who should appear but 2 little elves. Little elves, little tiny people. You can hardly see them. Tiny people with no clothes on. And they jumped up and they looked at the shoes and they went, because that's how elves speak. And they made the shoes, and they were the loveliest shoes you had ever seen. And then off they ran. So the shoemaker turned to his wife and he said, "You know, everything we have is thanks to those elves. I want to do something nice for them." And his wife said, "Well, they didn't have any clothes on. Why don't we make them nice suits, little suits?" And the shoemaker thought that that was an excellent idea. So he and his wife started making little tiny suits, the nicest suits you could ever imagine, just for the elves. And that night, before they went to bed, instead of putting leather out on the table, because they had all the shoes that they needed, they left 2 tiny little suits. And that night, when the elves came back into the shop, they found the suits. And they put on the suits, and the suits were perfect. And the elves decided that they had finished their job, because now the shoemaker had all the shoes in the world, and they could go off and have many, many magic adventures in their magic land. And off they went. And the shoemaker and his wife and the elves lived happily ever after. The end.